She walked up to her mansion barefoot. Her skin was covered in dust. Her hair was tangled. Her clothes looked like rags. Nobody recognized her. Not her servants, not her children, not even her husband. But here's the secret. She wasn't poor at all. She was a billionaire. A woman whose name shook the business world. A woman whose fortune could buy entire cities. Yet today, she looked like a beggar. Why? Because she was tired. Tired of fake smiles. Tired of greedy relatives. Tired of not knowing who loves me and who only loves my money. So she made a dangerous choice. She left behind the diamonds. She left behind the cars. She left behind everything. She returned home with nothing to see who would stand by her side. Her children, her relatives, and, most importantly, her husband of 20 years. But what happened next will break your heart. Because when she knocked on her own door, her children turned their faces. When she reached out for help, her relatives pushed her away, and her husband, the man who once swore he would love her forever, did something so cruel, so shocking. It felt like a knife in her soul. This is not just a story. This is a true lesson about love, greed, and betrayal. And by the end, you will ask yourself only one question. If the person you love lost everything tonight, would you stay by their side or would you betray them too? Her name was Adana. Born into wealth, raised in luxury, admired by all. From her childhood, she had never known hunger. Her father was one of the richest men in Nigeria, her mother a woman of influence and grace. Their empire stretched across businesses, lands, and power. For the world, Adana's life was perfect. The private schools, the expensive clothes, the parties that sparkled with champagne and diamonds. But behind the glitter, she lived with a quiet ache, because love, for her, was always questionable. Friends who only stayed close when gifts flowed, relatives who praised her, but always with one hand stretched forward for money. Even her children, raised in privilege, treated her kindness as entitlement. And then there was her husband, Chike, the man she thought was different. He married her young. He looked into her eyes and swore his love. He promised that money meant nothing, that he wanted only her heart. For years, Adana believed him. She built her world around him. She gave him children. She trusted him with her soul. But, as the years passed, small cracks began to show. He smiled widest when business was booming. He grew coldest when money was tight. His eyes softened at the sight of her jewelry, but hardened when she spoke of cutting down expenses. Still, Adana silenced her doubts. She told herself, he loves me, he must. But one day, during a family dispute over inheritance, a cousin whispered words that burned through her mind like fire. Adana, your husband loves your money, not you. If you had nothing, you'd see his true face. That night, she lay awake in her golden bed, staring at the ceiling. The question clawed at her heart. If I lost everything tomorrow, would anyone still stand by me? She thought of her children, spoiled, selfish, dependent on her fortune. She thought of her relatives, hungry for her wealth, always circling, like vultures. And she thought of Chike, the man she had given everything to. Doubt turned into fear. Fear turned into a plan. She would test them. She would walk away from wealth, disguise herself as poor, return to them with nothing. It was dangerous, risky. Some might call it madness. But Adana was desperate for the truth. She wanted to know, once and for all, who loved her for her heart and who only loved her money. What she didn't know was that this test would rip her life apart. Adana began quietly. She moved her fortune into hidden accounts, guarded by a loyal lawyer who had served her family for decades. She told him, "Keep it safe. Do not release it until I return." He agreed. Then she vanished. To the outside world, it looked like she had disappeared without a trace. The news spread like wildfire. Newspapers screamed headlines, "Billionaire woman missing." The city buzzed with rumors. Some said she had been kidnapped. Others said she had run away with another man. Her family played the grieving role. Her relatives wailed. Her children appeared on television pretending to cry, and her husband, Chike, gave interviews. His voice cracked as he begged for her return. His hands trembled as he held up her photo. But Adana was watching from the shadows, in her disguise of rags and poverty. She had rented a tiny room on the outskirts of the city, a place with broken walls and leaking roofs. Each day, she left the slums and wandered into the wealthy neighborhoods, waiting for her family to cross her path. The results were heartbreaking. The first test came with her eldest son. She saw him outside a restaurant, surrounded by friends laughing as servants carried shopping bags for him. She approached timidly, her voice soft. "Please, young man, can you spare a little food?" His face twisted in disgust. He shoved her away with his hand. "Go find work! Beggars like you disgust me!" Her chest tightened. She wanted to scream, "It's me, your mother!" But she stayed silent. She let the pain sink in. The next test was her daughter. Once they had been inseparable. Now her daughter looked at her as if she were dirt. "Stay away from me," she hissed. "People like you spread disease." Adana walked away trembling. Tears streamed down her cheeks. But the deepest cut was still to come. When she finally approached her husband, her heart broke completely. She stood outside their mansion, trembling. She knocked softly, pretending to be a starving beggar. When Cheek came to the door, she begged, "Please, sir, just a little food." His eyes darkened, his voice dripped with disgust. "You people are everywhere, always begging, always taking. Leave before I call the police." She froze. He didn't just reject her, he despised her. Her heart shattered into pieces, but the pain was not over. That night, hidden in the shadows, she overheard him speaking on the phone. His tone was soft, gentle, the way he once spoke to her. "She's gone," he whispered. "Finally. Now the money will be mine. Once the estate is settled, we can live freely." Adana's blood ran cold. He wasn't grieving. He was celebrating. He was planning a future with another woman. Her chest tightened as if 1,000 knives had pierced it. The man she had given her life to was not just greedy, he was waiting for her to disappear. This wasn't love. It had never been love. It was betrayal. Weeks passed. Adana's pain turned into resolve. She returned to her lawyer. She prepared her final move. Then she summoned her family. They gathered in the mansion, dressed in black, pretending to grieve. Some whispered about inheritance, others about who would control the empire, and Chike, he came in his finest suit, hiding a smile. The lawyer began. "Today, we will read the will." The family leaned forward, greedy eyes shining. Then the door opened, and in walked Adana. Not in rags, not in poverty, but in full glory. Dressed elegantly, her presence filled the room like thunder. Gasps erupted. Some screamed. Some thought she was a ghost. Cheek's face drained of color. "I am alive," she said. Her voice was calm but sharp as steel, "and I have seen the truth." One by one she exposed them. Her son's cruelty, her daughter's arrogance, and finally, her husband's betrayal. She played the recordings of his phone calls, his promises to another woman. The room fell into chaos. Cheeky dropped to his knees, begging, "Forgive me, I was lost." But Adana's eyes no longer softened. "This wealth you all worship," she declared, "you will never touch, because you showed me who you truly are, and I will not reward betrayal." Then, before their eyes, she rewrote her will. Not a single coin would go to them. Her entire fortune would go to the poor, to the schools, to the hospitals, to the orphans. The family was left with nothing. The lawyer stamped the final papers. Silence filled the room. Her children cried, not for love, but for the inheritance lost. Her relatives cursed under their breath. "And Cheek," he begged until his voice broke. But Adana's heart was free. "You showed me who you are when I had nothing," she said softly. "Now I will show you who I am when I have everything." She walked away, leaving behind the mansion, the betrayal, the broken family. In the months that followed, her wealth became a weapon of kindness. Schools rose in villages that had been forgotten. Clinics opened their doors to mothers who had never seen a doctor. Scholarships carried children out of poverty. Her name no longer stood for greed. It stood for hope. But deep inside, a scar remained. She had learned the cruelest truth. Money doesn't change people. It reveals them. Her children's hearts were spoiled. Her relatives were greedy. And her husband's love was never real. Yet she found peace, because she now knew the answer to the question that had haunted her for years. And so, dear listener, I ask you, if your partner lost everything tonight, would you still love them? Would you still stand by them when the gold fades, when the house crumbles, when the world turns its back? Or would you betray them, the way Cheeky betrayed Adana? Because wealth can buy admiration, but only true love survives poverty. And in the end, that is the greatest test of all.